Hello, Internet. This is Eric, and you are here for another episode of Fighting the Void. Today, joining me is none other than Monique Ocampo and also Alyssa Watson, both from the Catholic Reads team that I am a part of. And today we're going to be discussing Infinity War. How awesome was it? How awesome wasn't it? How many people died? There's going to be spoilers. And also, more importantly, we're going to be getting into the themes behind it and the motivations of everyone's giant purple people eater, Thanos. And for anyone who's interested, we are live right now. So if you want to go to the YouTube channel, Fighting the Void, you can do that. You can comment in the section, in the comments. And also, I'm going to be watching on Twitter and posting a link for that here in a moment. I should have done that earlier, but what can I say? It seems like it's my first rodeo. It's really not.
Okay.
All right. So with that overly wordy intro, Monique, I know you had some thoughts that you wanted to share.
Well, this is the first movie. If you haven't heard like your spoiler-free podcast, this is the first movie since Les Miserables that made me cry. And I never cry at the movies. Like, I can count on one hand the movies that made me cry. Infinity War is now one of them. And I think I cried because, like, it feels like this is the culmination of 10 years of Marvel, all these movies, all these stories, all these characters. And then I knew this movie was going to be intense. I think I even had an out-of-body experience at one point where I felt like I was just sucked into the movie and then all of a sudden crashed back into my own body, like Doctor Strange. I think that was just one of the effects of watching the movie in a theater, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Seeing it on the big screen and everything. Did you see it in IMAX? I'm curious.
I think we might have. I think we might have. It wasn't Dolby. I know it wasn't 3D, but it was, I think, IMAX. And I think it's just, I feel like they really carried the movie well. Like, they had so many storylines, but it all played, everyone had screen time and everyone had like a moment or two. And some theories were confirmed, like the Bucky Rocket interaction.
Yeah, that was script.
That was fantastic. I loved that.
I have a feeling they read the fan fiction and check out the fan art and see and ask themselves, how can we incorporate that into our movie? Like, we knew everyone was expecting for Tony and Doctor Strange to have some kind of interaction because they were both Sherlock, and we got that in spades. We knew that, like, there was going to be the Iron Spider because it was teased in Homecoming, and we got that. We wanted to know how, like, they also even acknowledged the MCU in-joke that Thor is Mr. Fan Service.
They did.
Amongst all the Avengers and all the MCU characters, Thor is the #1 hottest guy in the MCU if you ask the characters in the MCU. If you ask the MCU fangirls, it's Bucky.
Hell yes. But I also liked that I read some of these comics growing up, and I liked that I got my Scarlet Witch and Vision ship. I was glad that they did that. They are
the romance.
Yeah. But the thing I want them to deliver on, they didn't deliver on, is I want an Iron Man and Shuri team up from Black Panther.
Really?
Black Panther.
Maybe in the next movie because they're kind of shorthanded.
Oh man, she'll just like walk circles around him, and he'll love it.
She's already running circles around Hulk. I mean, she was already running circles around Banner, and I wish she had more screen time because she's one of my favorite characters from Black Panther. And Letitia Wright IRL is a devout Christian, like has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ level Christian.
Wow, that's awesome.
I even have this theory that if she ever converted to Catholicism, she would go on the path of being a consecrated virgin. but that's just my bias.
Huh.
Okay.
Now that's an interesting fan theory you will not hear anywhere else. I
Nope.
promise you that.
This is what you get when you have a Catholic who's also a nerd.
Yes.
Our ship
Yes,
so
this
many
happens.
directions.
But I think the reason why it was such an emotional thing is because, you know, Marvel made us invested in every one of these characters and made us care to different extents to, like, even though there were some gaps in the story, like I wish there was more development on how Wanda and Vision kind of became a thing, because they didn't show that in Civil War.
Yeah. Well, no, they did. They've been hinting at it.
Yeah, but they were kind of on opposing sides in Civil War. Hold on.
Yeah, but there was some flirting. There was some connection going on.
I know.
There was definitely some connection going on, and clearly things have progressed.
I guess they are assuming that the viewers are smart enough to put the pieces together themselves.
Yeah.
Because
that was mostly there for people who read the comics, and another thing I loved is this emotional reaction you guys are having to this. This is why people read the comic books. Okay, this is the emotional gut punching thing that they can do to you when you're reading the series over several volumes. I didn't think that film could capture that.
But they did.
I didn't think that the writers had balls to capture that.
So this is what an event comic feels like?
This is what an event comic feels like.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, I read all of these. I read all of these growing up. I read these when they were actually coming out on the shelves. That's how old I am.
And I'm like a very minimal comic fan at best. Like, I've only watched like Link Horror sometimes, and you know, Blockbuster Buster comments on how accurate movies are with the comics, and that's about it for me. Other than checking them out at the library sometimes. But
sorry, I have a ad that's playing on a pop-up right now.
Yeah. Fun fact, by the way, when I used to live in New Jersey, I used to live in Red Bank, and I actually lived near Jay and Silent Bob's comic store.
Nice.
I actually visited that store before it became the set of Comic Book Men, and I didn't even know where I was. I was just a kid.
That's awesome. So, Eric, we've been talking a lot. What did you think?
I thought it was really good. I went into it with I wouldn't say low expectations. I went into it with few expectations, just because I avoided as many spoilers as I possibly could going into this thing. All I did was watch trailers. I didn't even watch like all the additional clips that they always throw out there, to where you can actually expect to see half the movie before the movie even comes out. You know, I thought just from start to finish, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it a standalone movie? No. Nope. There is no way. If you have never watched a Marvel movie before, you just walk in and they have no idea what's going on. Who are these people? Why should I care about them? It does presume that you are already invested in the Marvel universe. You don't necessarily have to have seen every movie, but you have to have seen at least one movie with all of the major players at some point leading up to this.
Like, I'm counting right now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Like, at least 10.
Yeah, you have to at least seen.
Well,
I would say, at a guess, absolutely necessary movies to see: Iron Man, Thor: Ragnarok, Winter Soldier, the first Avengers,
Civil
War, and other than Avengers 2 because of Vision and Scarlet Witch. Yeah, other than that, I don't think there's any like absolutely you have to have seen it movies.
Can you give me like 5 minutes? 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Can I get my spoiler comments now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
you've got to go in just a couple minutes. So hit it.
Because this is all spoiler. Okay. One, Thanos, is he like the Thanos Gamora thing? I think that like some people are complaining that it promoted like abusive, stuff, but here's why I think he got the Soul Stone. As long as that whatever that pit that created the Soul Stone, as it's kind of like a power of belief thing. Thanos believed in his delusional mind that he did love Gamora, and as long as he believed it, then the pit or whatever the forge thing that created the Soul Stone believed it. It clutched onto his belief, even though we think it's abusive. He doesn't see it that way. He doesn't believe it in his heart that he was ever abusive towards Gamora. So, that was my perspective on that. 2, Star-Lord is getting way too much hate than he deserves. Yes, he made an awful, awful mistake during the fight with Thanos on Titan, but he's not exactly known for being the brightest crayon in the box. He was hold on, I gotta close the door. He was like always he's not exactly known for thinking things through. He's impulsive. It's within his character to kind of be a bit of an idiot. And
yeah, I thought that we needed, like, emotionally as an audience member, I needed somebody to freak out about Gamora's death. That was rough. That was really rough.
And I don't think, considering what he's been through from the second Guardians movie, he's lost a lot of people already, as much as Thor did. And, well, he wasn't thinking clearly, and he reacted in a visceral way, and everyone was trying to stop him because even Tony knew what that felt. But, like, when you're in one of those, like, fight or flight impulse moments, when you're that angry, you are not thinking clearly. You can only see that anger.
Yeah. As for whether or not Thanos really loved Gamora, what do you think, Eric?
I think he did. See, there's different.
It wasn't a selfless love.
This actually, I think, is where I think this is where frankly, having a little bit of Catholic theology and spirituality actually really does come in and help interpret this. I think there are different levels of love, and I think Thanos loved Gamora as much as he was capable of loving anyone. Now, he's so deluded in everything. It's not a selfless love. The agape does not come into this at all.
Nope.
Let's be clear on that. He only loves anything really insofar as it serves his ends. Gamora was the closest thing in his life that actually transcended that. Maybe even was actually almost equal to his end of killing half the universe to save the universe. We'll get there.
Yeah,
I think he loved her, but it wasn't a great love. It was just the greatest he's capable of.
Yeah, I agree. I did think it was really moving, though, that he certainly respected her when he didn't respect anyone else. Like, that's pretty impressive as far as Gamora is concerned. But yeah, no, the people can be abusive and jerks and still care for other people. That's the scary thing, and that's the thing that gives abusive people a lot of power. If when someone does care about you but they're abusive, they're harder to leave. Which is why you have that whole abuse cycle. If people were just straight abusive, you wouldn't have so many instances of people getting caught in abuse cycles as we do.
Yeah, I mean, it's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Guys, I'll be back if you guys go on, depending on how long you guys go. I think the next thing you need to talk about is that whole trolley question. I think that's what they call it. Kill one life to save 1,000 thing.
Oh, that thing.
And I would like you to, Alyssa,
yes.
When I don't wait until I come back, because I have to ask you about that whole Margaret Sanger thing, okay?
Okay. Cool.
I'll be back.
All right.
Okay, Alyssa, why do you have a sword?
Why don't I have a sword?
I guess when you put it that way, I have no answers. Why wouldn't you just randomly be holding a katana? Okay, see, we're just checking all the nerd boxes today, aren't we?
Yep. I've got a little terrarium with the Yoda lifting Marimo balls too. Doing horse lifting. So wait, hold on, you can't see him. There.
No, the glare from the screen is kind of getting in the way.
There, sorry.
But okay, so see, I don't know that we could actually get into the trolley question without talking about the Sanger thing.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
I think that's impossible.
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to just a couple other impressions of the movie. I loved Thor coming in at the end, and coming in like everyone's like Banner's like, you guys are screwed now. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was
he just comes and just lays waste to everything. I'm like,
yeah.
There's my God of Thunder.
Yeah, Thor wasn't a character that honestly I did not like his first few movies, and I found him kind of boring.
Yeah, he was the whole thing was meh.
Yeah, but I loved Thor Ragnarok. I felt like we really got some good character development there, and I loved Thor in this film. Like that moment where he breaks down and is like crying. Gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know you're swooning. I get it. the big manly man being vulnerable for a moment there. Well, as long as it's only a moment.
Actually, I'm less on that train than most people. I have a bias against blondes. I don't know why. But I guess
well, he cut pretty much all of it off, so you're good, right?
Yeah, right. It was a huge improvement.
That's awesome. Now, the one quibble I would have is I don't quite understand why Thor chucking Stormbreaker was able to overpower the Infinity Gauntlet so easily. I was like, that seems a stretch to me. It's like, okay, I get it. It can kill Thanos. That's fine. But Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet? I mean, he could have just snapped his fingers and said, oh, well, that hammer's not even a thing anymore.
I think we are at the limits of my comic book knowledge. I know just enough to know that there is something, because I read more of the Civil War events. I didn't read a whole lot of the Infinity War events. Well, but I think there is something that they're hinting involving Stormbreaker that happened in the comics, and I think that was something that was in there for the people.
Stormbreaker didn't even exist with the Infinity War comics. Oh. The Infinity Gauntlet comics and everything. The movie it's inspired by the Infinity Gauntlet story, but it's vastly different.
Oh yeah, of course.
So different. It's not even.
But they still do nods to the original story.
Oh, yeah. But like Stormbreaker, I think, was actually his hammer in the Ultimate Universe. The design was certainly based on that hammer. But again, Thor lore in general, I'm not 100% up on, but that's what I think. I'd have to check it out to be sure.
Yeah.
But now, I think, but, it just seemed... It just seemed too easy.
This is the limits of the Infinity Gauntlet. It's only as powerful as you, the finite, non-omnipotent user, has. So if he doesn't see the hammer coming at him, he can't poof it out of existence.
But he did see the hammer coming at him. That's the thing. He blasted it. Remember? Oh. And it just plowed right through the blast.
So then we're in the realm of hubris.
Yeah, honestly, I think they just were like, well, we've got to take him out somehow, and if we really need to, we'll retcon. we'll retcon an answer to that question if anybody's got it. I think that's the real answer. I have a little bit of a theory that they could use to retcon it, and that would be I think either Loki did something to the Space Stone,
Mm.
or Strange did something to the Time Stone. I think it's incredibly unlikely that they both just turned them over without messing with them in some way, shape, or form.
I don't think they can mess with them. Those are really powerful magical objects.
They could do some. See, in the comics, if I remember correctly, one of the stones was a fake.
That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. Also in the comics, now they can't do it this way because of the way they've changed it for the movie. In the comics, what happens is Thanos literally becomes the physical embodiment of the universe, which means he now exists outside of his body, which means now his body is just sitting there sitting there holding the Infinity Gauntlet. And then Nebula walks up, takes it, and puts it on her hand, and I was like, well, here we go.
But he's still alive.
That's not going to happen here.
Yeah, but yeah, that's way too trippy, I think. For
they would have to hand out psychotropic drugs at the theater for people to buy into this, and that's not likely.
Well, I mean, was he dead after that, or did he just exist above it all and sort of?
He just existed above it all because in the Marvel Comics universe, there is a being called Eternity, which is the physical embodiment of the universe. So it's once you get into the cosmic stuff with any comic book universe, it gets weird.
Yeah,
really weird. But like in the DC comic universe, Spectre is the physical manifestation of the wrath of God. No joke.
Yeah.
He's essentially the angel of death. But
it's got to be somebody's job.
I guess so. Getting back, of course, to Infinity War, though, I think that's how they're going to wind up beating him in the end, is because there are these alterations to the stones in some way, and as far as them being able to mess with it, Scarlet Witch did manage to destroy the Mind Stone. She did. So
but that's the Scarlet Witch.
Clearly they can be messed with, and. But that's the Scarlet Witch. Yeah, but it's also Doctor Strange, who by himself was able to hold his own against Thanos.
He's also overpowered.
Strange is way overpowered. He was able to hold his own solo against Thanos for a little while.
Yeah, that's true. That might be it. What do you think about the theory that they will convert Thanos, that he will actually be brought to some sort of remorse?
The only one that can do that is Gamora. If that happens, it will be because Gamora, who I suspect her soul is essentially still preserved within the Soul Stone.
Oh.
I don't think he was just having like a little dream at the end when he saw little Gamora. I think he was having a vision induced by the Soul Stone. Well, I think that was Gamora.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, they never explained what the Soul Stone does. That bothered me.
Nope, they sure don't, do they?
Yeah. The Time Stone controls time, the Space Stone controls space, and the Soul Stone is yellow.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the Reality Stone controls reality. What exactly does that mean? I mean, really, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Clearly it's like, okay, this is real and this isn't, I guess. But then what does the Space Stone actually do? I wish I could remember the original, because I think one of those is actually changed. Actually is not one of the original Infinity Gems.
Oh.
I think. But I would need to look that up to be sure. But in any case, I think that's my theory is that's how they're going to wind up beating him, is the stones are modified in some way, shape, or form, and thus give them a way, something that they can exploit. And of course, Gamora could wind up having some influence there. So definitely Gamora. I'm 90% sure she's not going to stay dead. I think she.
But it would be very sad because then we'd have a Romeo and Juliet situation where we saw him grieve her, and now we're gonna get the vice versa.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is already planned. That's already coming out.
When is that coming out?
Goodness, I'm not sure exactly. After the next Infinity War. I mean, after the next Avengers movie. The as yet unnamed Avengers 4.
Okay.
Which comes out next year, incidentally.
Yeah.
In fact, less than a year from now.
Yeah. When I was watching Infinity War, there's a family sitting in front of me, and when the credits rolled, this 10-year-old boy stood up and went, "What? Can they do that?"
Yes, they can, but not for real, because let's be honest, they're not literally killing half their franchise.
No.
I mean, come on. Do we really? We're not going to have another Spider-Man reboot. Give me a break.
I gotta tell you, I was such a fan of all the side characters in Black Panther. I could do a Black Panther movie without Black Panther. I mean, I don't want him to be gone for any longer than a movie at all. Right. But it would be really cool to see them grapple with that political vacuum again.
You could see Shuri or something become Black Panther or somebody in there.
Yeah, someone's got to step in, and Shuri in the comics was Black Panther for a while, but I don't see her. What I like about her is I don't see her being content as Black Panther.
Right now,
but she'd be a good interim.
There's two things I wanted to mention. Then I want to really get into Thanos and his motivations.
Okay.
One is I was convinced going into the movie that Captain America died, because everybody's like, "Oh," and I kept seeing something's die, spoiler, and to be a picture of Captain America. Yeah, and everybody's talking about, for some reason, everybody's talking about, well, about Bucky. Bucky should become Captain America, right? Like, well, clearly there's a hole to fill there, so. Dang, that part's ruined for me. No, Captain America lives. The one thing I was sure was going to happen didn't.
Well, the thing is that Captain America died in Civil War in the comics.
Right.
And I'm actually a little disappointed that they didn't go with that. Like, I guess just from event comics perspective, I'm a big fan of Civil War over Infinity War, so I'm a little disappointed. I think a lot of people were that they didn't end up doing this, but I can understand why they did it, because the Civil War comics didn't bring as many wide-reaching effects to these specific characters that they have built up.
Yeah. And oh goodness, I forgot what the other thing was that I wanted to bring up. Oh yeah. Right at the end, when after Fury literally flakes out, you see his little fancy schmancy pager thing.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know what the symbol was that he saw?
Yeah, it's Captain Marvel.
There it is. All right.
No,
you are a good nerd. I like it.
I'm excited. I'm a little disappointed they didn't do Kamala Khan, but I understand why. If they're not doing Mike Morales, they're not doing Kamala Khan.
Miles Morales.
Miles, sorry. I haven't read that one.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, especially if you're looking for something that's actually going to be helpful with Thanos.
Yeah.
I don't think I Can Make My Fist Big is going to be a huge help with Thanos, to be honest.
That's true.
There's a reason Hawkeye wasn't there.
Character more than that.
What's
but
that?
Yeah, I like Kamala's character, but you're right.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's going to be a lot more helpful. Yes, and we get a lady fighter pilot story.
Yep, exactly.
Hopefully, it will redeem the Green Lantern plotline.
Oh dear. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Sorry.
No, pilots around the world will be redeemed.
Exactly. Now see, now that little tease, that little hint of Captain Marvel's coming, and that clearly she's a big deal. Because granted, Fury doesn't really know what's going on yet. He just knows it's big. So the first thing he does to call in some big backup, he calls Captain Marvel. Now, This was the perfect way to make me excited about the Captain Marvel movie. Because at this point, it's hard to get me excited for a movie. I'll be honest. But the fact that they threw her out as a teaser in that way, I was like, okay, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in. I'm really
so well trained. Gosh.
I know we are. It's like, yes, Pavlov, please ring the bell and I will slobber. And
it works.
I admit it.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the Guardians, I forget which Guardians movie. No, it was the second Guardians. They gave a little teaser about Adam Warlock.
He's a coming.
You think so? I don't know. It's been a while, and they haven't made any other references. And I think bringing him back just randomly into...
Well, there's no other place to make a reference to him other than Infinity War would have been appropriate, because there's no other cosmic movies out there in the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet. So there will not be another reference to him until possibly the next Avengers, but I don't think so. I think we're going to wait till Guardians 3.
Oh, so you don't think he's going to show up for Infinity War?
I don't.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I will happily be proven wrong, but because I would love that. But I don't think so. I gotta think that we're gonna get to know him some other way first. But then again, you never know. There's theories out there that Nova is actually going to enter the MCU, and we may get introduced to a whole new cast of cosmic characters via the Captain Marvel movie. Now, it won't be Warlock because the Captain Marvel movie takes place in the 80s. So we won't be meeting Warlock in that movie. But
I mean, will it? They won't set it in the current times?
Yeah, that's already known that the Captain Marvel movie
they're setting it in the 80s.
Yeah, that's already established.
80s superhero film? Yeah. That sounds great.
Yes, can just imagine that. Because she starts out as a fighter pilot. There is going to be some Kenny Loggins playing in the background somewhere. That little Easter egg is going to be out there for people who still remember Tom Cruise and Top Gun.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping he shows up and she gets to punch him in the face.
That alone would be... It's
not going to happen, but
that by itself would be worth the price of admission.
Right?
I completely agree. Okay, so before we go down any other rabbit holes, let's talk about the thing that not many other people are going to be talking about with the movie.
Yep.
What's going on with Thanos' motivations? Now, you brought this up as something you want to talk about, so I will give the floor to you.
Okay, so I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and specifically Golden Age, 1950s, 40s sci-fi. And I actually, and even with modern stuff today, I find this theory come up more than once of, that the universe would be better off with less human beings, with less, I guess in the Marvel universe, sentient beings.
Mm-hmm.
And they take it seriously. It's like presented as this serious moral issue. I think even one of the Dan Brown books made a big deal about, the main character having to choose whether or not to pull a Thanos, and him treating it like it was very difficult to make this choice, and not black and white at all. And even recently, I haven't seen the movie, but I read the books, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer.
Okay.
It's a creepy what's that crap? What's that alien TV show where they're always hunting aliens and they never catch them? And it completely flew out of my head.
I have no idea.
Mulder and Scully.
Oh, X-Files.
X-Files, sorry. All right, so it's kind of like this X-Files style invasion of this area called Area X, and they don't know what it is or how to stop it. It's just very slowly taking over things and people. And the main character in the book is like, I just don't think that I have a right to stop it because it's making this pristine wilderness, and what right do human beings have to fight for the survival of their species over any others? And it's like, oh my gosh, no.
Humans are literally the only species that ever asked themselves that question.
Yeah. Nobody else has this problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if we're going to take wisdom from nature, maybe we should look at what nature's doing. But yeah, so I found this film incredibly pro-life, and it was almost like a stick it to you narrative in that, okay, fine, you think the world would be better with half its population? Here you go. How do you feel? Do you feel better? They died painlessly, just puffs of smoke.
Right.
Doesn't that make it so much better?
Yeah, there's no pain, there's no suffering involved, except for all the people who left, who watched her friends and family like just disappear in front of them.
Yeah,
other than that,
and I like that they showed this is some of the beginning of the societal ramifications of like your king is gone of an entire country.
right.
You're going to have other world leaders that are missing, so you're going to have chaos from that. You're going to have just like people, cars were crashing because the people were disappearing. Infrastructure, our infrastructure is built for roughly the people that we have, and that's going to crash if you don't have that people to run it. So yeah.
Yeah, not to mention the economic consequences and everything. It's a lot of people don't realize pretty much our entire economy is based on the fact that there will be ever more people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's how economic growth happens. It's because the next generation is bigger than the one that came before it, and thus the generation that came before it has jobs to make stuff for those people.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to have growing pains if you have a huge population boom like we did recently, and you're going to have growing pains if you had a huge shrink. You don't want... I can understand not striving for a huge growth spurt, but that doesn't mean you should cut the population off at the knees.
Right. But now, what about what about though? And I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. What about the actual morality of his argument, though? The argument that, well, granted, we're talking on the scale of the universe here, but presumably the universe is finite, therefore resources in the universe would be finite, and fewer beings using such resources equals, means that there'll be more resources for more people for longer, at least.
Are you guys talking about the creation versus destruction?
Yeah, we are. So that's even more silly in the Marvel universe, because in the Marvel universe they have multiple dimensions. They have people constantly discovering new inventions that allow them to go to new areas.
Mm-hmm.
They have all this magic and science devoted to coming up with new ways and to use the resources we have and new resources to use. I mean, Wakanda itself, running on an entirely non-oil economy, it's its own FU to this whole idea.
I know. Well, have you ever heard the trope Reed Richards is useless?
Wait, Monique, you're echoing a lot.
Crap. How do I
like step back a little bit from the speaker?
Oh,
that might help. Yeah.
Is that better?
It's a little better.
Sorry. Okay, so it wasn't echoing before. Okay, so have you ever heard of the trope Reed Richards is useless?
No.
It just basically means people who, in like a comic book universe, who have the power to potentially like change the world, don't, for some reason or another, like comic book logic.
Right.
Like, it's like Reed Richards. I guess the trope is there because like is named such because like Reed Richards is a scientist, and whatever the Fantastic Four can do, could potentially help the world in some way, but like beyond just fighting villains and stuff.
Right. He's like the smartest person, and he's like the smartest person on the planet. Why the heck hasn't he come up with a cure for cancer?
Exactly. Kind of like that. Whatever. So now here's my question for you, Alyssa. How is Thanos like Margaret Sanger?
Population control will make the world a better place.
Now, there's
Not to
I'm
mention
actually
delusions of grandeur.
yeah, there's that. Now I'm actually going to push back just a touch on the Sanger comparison.
Yeah.
Because Sanger was all about the eugenics aspect of it.
Yeah.
She was targeting specific people.
Yeah.
Specific people that she decided were undesirables.
Yes.
A lot of people, actually more politically astute out there, may be aware that she was specifically targeting Jews and blacks with where she located her clinics and everything.
Yep.
She was also specifically targeting Catholics. That part doesn't usually come up.
I'm not surprised.
We were in the list of undesirables that she did not want around. And I have never, I've never seen a secular commenter, even if they're disagreeing with Sanger, bring that part up. I find that very interesting to me.
Yeah.
You do realize that anti-Catholicism is like the last acceptable prejudice now, and
I've read that book.
and also like with Sanger, and I was surprised. Honestly, she should just put on a swastika and say "Hail Hydra."
Nice. Now the reason I push back on that is because, again, Sanger was all eugenics, all like, if we get rid of these people, then we won't have poverty, we won't have retardation.
The modern version of that is against the human race.
Right. Yes. And Thanos was, they made an explicit point in the film of saying it'd be completely random. Rich, poor, sick, whatever. Just totally random chance who gets eliminated. Okay. So I guess Thanos is egalitarian. Great.
That's not. No. It's like egalitarian in the strictest sense of the word, and I really wish Thor chopped his arm off, but like Thor hasn't exactly had any training in axes. Okay, he always goes for the chest. I knew that he would go for the chest instead of the shoulder because he's used to. That's what he's used to.
Mm-hmm.
But points to like Thor for like basically forging his own weapon, and oh my God, Peter Dinklage! I did not expect him in this movie.
Especially since he was a giant dwarf. That I laughed.
I'm pretty sure that is going to be a hilarious thing to Game of Thrones fans, but for me, I'm like, I feel like that's like I don't want to make a politically incorrect joke, but it's like...
You realize where you are, right?
I know, but like, I wonder if Peter Dinklage is thinking, now for once I can look down on everyone else.
I'm sure.
I think that's a joke he could make.
Now, I titled this episode, Malthus Invades the Marvel Universe. And the reason is because the origin of Thanos' philosophy is Thomas Malthus, who was an English cleric back in the what was it? Yes, the late 18th, early 19th centuries, who basically looked at everything and said, you know what? Finite planet, finite resources. Eventually, we're going to run out. It's going to be horrible for everybody. So let's just, engage in positive measures to control the population.
I think Wisecrack actually talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow Wisecrack on YouTube?
No, I do not.
They're a channel that they're a YouTube channel that examines movies for and other media for philosophy.
I see. I would like them.
Yeah, and other stuff, but they mentioned that.
Yeah, they're very secular though too.
Yeah, and they didn't like The Last Jedi, which they didn't like The Last Jedi, so that's kind of a point against their credibility.
That's going to depend on who you ask.
No, shut. I know, but I don't care that I'm in the minority.
I'm right with you, Monique.
But now, Now, of course, Thanos, he's got this idea. He saw a problem on his homeworld, Titan, that hey, we're running out of stuff. It's a problem. Now, what he does is he comes up with the simplest possible solution. It's not a brilliant solution. It's not a solution that actually solves anything. We just lost Alyssa. Alyssa fell out. I hope she'll come back. But
you're gonna hear me saying that, by the way,
that?
shrimp puffs. If you hear me saying shrimp puffs, don't be surprised. That's my way of saying other words.
Fair enough. Now, he didn't come up with a brilliant solution. He came up with the simplest solution. He came up with a solution that that a reasonably intelligent 10-year-old could come up with. Oh, there's only so much stuff to go around for so many people. Well, let's just have fewer people. If I can't have more stuff, we'll have fewer people. This is not brilliance. This is highly simplistic. This is sophomoric logic at best, and it's been proven.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, well, it's way more simplistic than Occam's razor. It's like I said, it's infantile, really.
Well, what do you expect from him?
Right. Well, there's that. But the reason I can say that with confidence is that Malthus has been proven wrong. We have far more people than he ever expected. We have far more food than he ever expected, and we actually have far less poverty than he ever expected. The amount of people on the planet, the amount of food available have gone up dramatically, and the amount of poverty since he was around has gone down dramatically.
Yeah. If anything, the birth rate is still going down. Like, even with our population increasing, the birth rate is still going down.
Now, see, that's a separate argument, and I think that needs to be approached on a whole different angle. And frankly, that's probably a subject for a different episode again, because frankly saying that, but the population rate is going down is kind of a backhanded compliment to them, saying that your efforts are working.
Sorry, I'm like
don't worry. A lot of people don't realize that when they start throwing that out there, like, that's you're not actually helping when you point that out. It's a true fact.
No,
but it's kind of beside the point.
But yeah,
sorry.
The point is that we have more people, and we have more food, and we have less poverty. We have actually become much more intelligent about how to use the resources that we are given, and that's shown all over the place. The examples of that abound once you actually start to look at things. It's been a long time since the river in Cleveland caught on fire. We managed to clean that up. A good part of the Chicago coastline along Lake Michigan is actually built on a garbage dump.
Wow.
I learned this a few years ago when I was on a bus tour in Chicago, and they used to, in the early days of the city, they just dumped everything either into the river or just on the beach.
Oh gosh.
Until it became putrid and horrible and disgusting. Yeah. They actually reviewed the Army Corps of it got so bad the Army Corps of Engineers actually came in, reversed the flow of the river, and sent it all down to St. Louis.
Grief.
Oops.
Sorry about that.
So the point, but my point is, and then I'll shut up for a moment, is that we have intellect. We have the ability to come up with better solutions than, you know what, you're out of here. And what I always say to people who advocate for population control, human extinction, whatever, is, you know what, you first. Lead by example. By all means, I have some traffic right outside.
Yeah. What I want to see from the sequel is I want to see the actual ramifications of this population loss. I want to spend some time with each of the characters and how it personally affects them, not just in who they lost personally, but what it's doing to the world, the universe.
I think that would be great.
However long it lasts,
forget about the implications of it. I remember I was talking with a friend about Ender's, one of the books in the Ender's Game verse, the Speaker for the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
This involves a bit of a spoiler, but I'll avoid other extraneous things. One of the characters, it's a really small space colony, like maybe 300 people. One of the characters...
Alyssa, we can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me?
No. Can you see her?
Yep.
Oh, never mind. It might be just me then.
All right. But one of the characters finds out that the girl he's been dating and wants to marry is actually his half-sister.
Oh.
And,
well, that's a problem.
Yeah, it was a problem. And they stop. They don't go any further than that. It doesn't get weird or anything. But, you know, I was talking with a friend about that, and she was like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, why do you put that in there? I was like, but because it's something that people have to face. And she was a very secular person. I was like, look, regardless of how you feel about rules about sexual mores, they do have functional reasons for existing. The reason why he was dating his sister unbeknownst to him is because one of his parents slept with someone they weren't married with. That rule was there to, knowing who's sleeping with who is really important if you don't want to date your sister on accident.
Tell that to Luke and Leia.
That doesn't come up a lot nowadays because we live in we have a high population,
right.
And we have huge cities. So running into diverse people and finding diverse partners is not a problem. But when your population is small, it is a problem, and you have to deal with it some way.
Yeah, huh? I hadn't really thought about it from that particular angle, but yeah, okay.
I wanted to talk about the singer at the Civil War. I want to see, like, if there's anything I want from the sequel, like, I want to see how Rocket deals with all that loss. Like, he's lost everyone.
Yeah, there's nobody left in
including
the Guardian verse. That kills me.
Maybe I kind of feel sorry for him because he won't even have any emotional consolation from Mantis, who, by the way, was awesome in this movie.
Yeah,
he's my spirit animal.
Yep. I thought he was pretty impressive.
I especially like her mean face. Her mean face was great.
I didn't see her mean face. What did it look like? I need to know because I'm going to comic. You need to show me because
I almost missed it. It was just, when at the beginning when Star-Lord's like, okay, everybody put on their mean faces. You actually see her in the background going.
I will have to remember that because I'm cosplaying her for Comic Palooza, and in case someone asks me to put on my best mean face as Mantis.
Yes.
So you've got to go see the movie again.
No, I don't want to go see the movie again. It's bad enough that I cried, but there were people in the back who were laughing at the end, and I don't know why. I think they were laughing at me.
That's possible.
Because I cried, I was pretty sure they told me.
The 10-year-olds in front of me were just so emotionally wrecked, and I was happy for them. Weirdly enough.
Why?
I felt like watching a kid getting to see Star Wars for the first time. They're getting initiated into the comic book drama.
Oh yeah, the whole it's like their Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
That's now I know how now I understand it. Like the emotional gut punch, like all the emotional gut punch and the just the feeling of where do we go from here, and and I'm really glad that in the Stinger Samuel got to say his catchphrase.
What's that?
Which is basically his Nick Fury, he almost said it,
Oh, yeah, almost. Yeah, he flaked out just before it left PG-13 land. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I think it's he's contractually obligated to say his catchphrase in every movie, even even in the PG-13.
Maybe almost.
It's practically his second middle name.
This is true. At least ever since Pulp Fiction, anyway. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
That's that character has just sort of become who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's true because in Captain America 2, he was on his gravestone was the Bible verse that was quoted in Pulp Fiction, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, I didn't pick up that. That's great.
Awesome. Now
you have to. I have to double check, but I think that's the Bible verse he quoted in Pulp Fiction on Nick Fury's grave.
That's awesome. Now I want to get back to Thanos just a little bit, and his whole attitude. His whole attitude is, I know. I'm the guy with the solution to the problem. He is essentially he's and somebody else, another podcast that I listened to pointed this out. The Steve Day show actually pointed this one out, and he's the elitist bureaucrat. He's the guy who sits behind a desk somewhere, and it's like, don't worry, I've got the solutions that will make everybody's lives better. Just give me all the power that I need to do what I need to do, and you guys will thank me. It'll be great. It'll be great. And don't worry, I can make the hard decisions.
Yeah.
Who does that remind us of?
Well,
almost every politician ever.
Yeah. Have you guys read any of Brandon Sanderson's books? He's a science fiction writer.
No. Nope.
Okay, so he's a great guy. I recommend any of his stuff. So in one of the stories, like the world is ending. The world is legitimately ending, and they're trying to stop it. That trope. And one of the characters that is probably the most moral and one of the moral centers of the story becomes king, and he kind of, as he slowly over the course of several books grows into that role, realizes that as much as he actually wants democracy and he wants freedom and equality, the world is ending and he needs to be a dictator for a time to save it. It's very interesting. I don't think many authors could pull it off and do it in a moral way, but Sanderson,
like an actual dictator that doesn't turn into Hitler.
This guy's kind of like Abraham Lincoln, almost a little bit, who had his own dictatorish moments too.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I did not know that.
The point being is, I can see why, given Thanos' backstory, why he would think this way, given the destruction, him surviving the destruction of his world. I can understand how that would shape someone to think in that way, and to be like, all right, I'm not putting up with any bullshit. I'm willing to make a decision and take action.
I guess that's why he's also mentally linked with Tony then too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not that different.
Yeah, Tony thought that way at the beginning of the series, though. He slowly has been changing and growing up and maturing out of that.
Yes, he has. Yeah, actually, Tony has undergone a lot of growth. It's that you especially do begin to see, actually, really in this movie, because he was still sort of infantile. Man, you know what? Civil War. Civil War is when you really begin to see it. When he actually starts to realize, not everything I do is the greatest thing that's ever happened. He actually starts to question himself and think that he does need to be reined in just a little bit for probably the first time in his entire life.
Yeah.
He is actually questioning himself.
No,
which I think is interesting. And it's also interesting that that was another Russo brothers movie.
Yeah.
Another person I follow on Twitter, she pointed out that all of the Russo brother movies, they're all actually they involve a lot of political themes that are relevant to whatever's going on when the movie comes out, or just society culturally in general, because there's nothing unique about the present time when Infinity War comes out, but it's a topic that has been a topic ever since Malthus. So but they also don't tell you what to think about it. They throw it out. They
And
throw
that's
it
what I
out
like
as
about
a
it.
question. They throw it out as a question. Here are some facts. Here are the
Mickey
sides.
drop.
You guys debate. And I that was a really great point. It's also worth noting that Winter Soldier, Civil War, and now Infinity War are amongst the best of the Marvel movies.
They're political without being heavy-handed or
Yes,
forcing.
exactly. They're not telling you what to think. And
So,
I think that is a huge strength of these films.
so do you
I
think
will-
that they're going to kind of address, like, do you think they're going to drive home, have the balls to drive home this whole, Sanger population control message, or do you think that they're going to back off from that?
Nope. They will.
I don't know how directly they're going to confront it. I mean, obviously they're going to they are confronting it in the sense that Thanos is the bad guy. All the good guys are fighting him. So they are confronting it in that way. But are they going to directly, is somebody gonna directly call Thanos on his BS? Maybe not. We'll see. I'll be curious. Tony would be the one to do it though.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah. I can see Tony doing it because, but I never noticed that, the political. I mean, I know that the Russo brothers did have political themes in their movies, but I never knew that it was intentional or not. And I'm glad that they aren't pushing any particular political agenda, just making people, think and debate and question things, and not and in a civil way.
Civil. I like that.
I know.
As
I mean, I was
opposed
always Team
to a
Cap.
war.
I kind of understood where Iron Man was coming from, even though he was going about it the wrong way, especially with Scarlet Witch, because she's a teenager. You're not gonna put her on. If you're gonna put her on house arrest, you have to at least tell her.
Teenager, I thought she was at least 22 or something.
Yeah.
She's still young.
Now, one other thing that I think Thanos deserves to be called on is, after he chooses to kill Gamora, he spends the rest of the movie moping around, going, "You don't know what I've lost today. I've lost more than you can know."
Oh, that's exactly what psychopaths do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, Dick, you're literally trying to kill half my planet. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I stand to lose a heck of a lot more than you did, pal.
Yeah. Any retail worker can tell you that's how people are.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
That's a whole other
Please
topic.
explain. I understand what you. I think I understand you, but please explain for the audience that's never worked retail.
Yeah.
Just people get so focused on what they want and assume that they have a right to it. So, I know of people that they were handing out food to let people sample stuff, and customers would complain because they're taking too long to cook it.
Oh wow.
Oh, you only gave me this much. I want this much. It's it's not a restaurant. It's a sample to let you taste it. You don't have a human right to this sample. It's like a free gift thing.
Right.
But yeah, anyone that works in retail will see. You'll see good people and really awesome acts of charity, but you'll also see some very smart, intelligent, and otherwise mature people.
Act like the most entitled millennial on the planet.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the nature of dealing with the public anywhere, and when you're dealing with the public, either as a in local government or in retail or service, you're going to meet all kinds of people, and that means you're going to meet some really great people, but also means you're going to meet some really bad ones.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, that was something that was bothering me throughout the whole movie. It was Thanos, you're just shut up. Stop whining. Yeah, you lost a lot, pal. You chose to lose it. That was your choice. You're literally making choices for the rest of the universe. So you just slow your roll, you arrogant prick. And then I would duck and hope that Thor's right there to hit him with an axe.
Yeah. That's how I felt reading the Annihilation book. So it was really refreshing to see that.
Just so dang pretentious.
Right? Yes.
That's exactly what
if you want to talk pretentious, try being in Lestat's head. That I won't compare him to Thanos, but that's another discussion.
Yeah.
Anyway,
getting into Anne Rice, whole nother ball of wax.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I wish that Rocket could say to Thanos what he said in Guardians of the Galaxy: "Everyone's got dead people."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as of now, you are the cause of half of it, and you made your bed, you lie in it.
Mm-hmm. So who do we have surviving? We've got Rocket and Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Shuri, Okoye, Tall Guy.
I was gonna say Hawkeye because he was too busy playing tag.
Hawkeye, we think. Far as we know, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys mention Banner?
Interesting. Do you know if that's supposed to be before or after?
It's going to be before.
Yep, that's before.
It's going to be before because it takes place after Civil War, which I think is a bit out of order because, if you're, it has to connect to Infinity War somehow. Otherwise, it won't really matter.
We'll just have a clip at the end of one of the characters evaporating. That's
That's it. But that's the point. It's I don't know why. I think I figured out why I didn't connect to Doctor Strange when I watched the movie because I didn't like his character, his attitude.
Because he was Iron Man 2.0.
It's in it. that, and also because I don't feel like he really learned his lesson by the end of the movie. He just went with whatever. He just said, "Okay, this is what I'm in now. I just got to go with it because I'm not going to get my life back, so might as well go with this."
No, he could have gotten his life back, but he didn't. All right, that's another story. But all right, I disagree. Go on.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out in my head why I didn't connect with Doctor Strange and why I didn't connect with Ant-Man the way that I did with Black Panther and Spider-Man. I understand all the main Avengers, they're as an ensemble at this point, but every what I call solo movie up to this point, it's been either I love them or I'm just kind of indifferent. And the ones that I love are Spider-Man and Black Panther, whereas I'm kind of indifferent towards Doctor Strange.
Did you feel indifferent towards Doctor Strange in this movie?
He was better in this movie. He was better. I was actually scared for him, and
actually I have the opposite feeling. I felt like he was more rounded and deep in his standalone movie, and a little more flat and just kind of there in this movie.
I don't know. I think it's just maybe a matter of writing, I guess.
Well, it's also a matter of in this movie, there's only so many people to go around.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he and Iron Man had a lot of screen time together.
That was great. That was one of the better things. But
question, by the way, about Tony. What? Hello?
Yeah.
Question about Tony, his father figure relationship to Peter Parker. That's one thing they definitely got right. But what do you think of Tony as a father figure for Peter? You think he's the right? I mean, obviously he's someone that Peter likes and aspires to be like. But do you think he makes a good father figure for Peter?
I have to confess, I haven't seen Homecoming yet. I can't. I'm not equipped to judge.
That's all right. I don't really get a father figure vibe from Tony. I get that Tony sees him as a son and is starting to embrace that, but the way that Peter talks to Tony, I feel more like to him, Tony is just this really cool guy, maybe mentor, but more like a boss that you like, you know? Or a teacher.
Yeah,
more like a teacher than a father. I don't think
that's fair.
I think Peter sees Tony as his idol for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, ladies, it is getting late over here, and I think unless you guys have any final thoughts that you want to share on Infinity War,
Come back, Peter Parker. My baby.
Don't worry. I have full confidence that Peter and almost everyone else will come back. Actually, let's wrap it up that way. Monique, who's not dead?
What? I can hear you.
No. Actually, let me ask a different question. Who is really dead? Who's going to stay dead?
Okay.
Nobody.
By the next movie, I'm thinking Captain America will be permanently dead in the next movie.
No. Who's really dead from this movie?
Oh. God.
Yep. See? Yeah, they're all going to come back.
I think that is very possible.
That's a hard question. I honestly don't know. I'm not even certain that Loki is going to stay dead.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're not going to let Loki die. Oh my gosh. The actor himself would come on stage.
No, see, I disagree. I think if anyone is going to stay dead, I think it's Loki.
Oh.
Why do I think that? I think because his character arc is done.
That's true.
There's nothing else to do with this character that we haven't already seen.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to double cross Thor again?
Yeah.
No,
Like we haven't seen that. And they gave him a good guy death.
They did. They gave him an honorable death.
They offed him in a really good way, and also it's before Thanos actually fully loads the Infinity Gauntlet and everything. So my personal thought is Thor, even not Thor. I think Loki and maybe the rest of the Asgardians will also stay dead for the simple they made a point of killing. They made a point of killing of Heimdall as well, and I think he's going to stay dead for this reason. They're probably tired of trying to figure out ways to wedge in an Idris Elba cameo. Those are probably expensive cameos.
They probably are. So I have a question. I think that we never got into why Hulk wouldn't fight against Thanos.
Because he was afraid of him.
I think Hulk agrees with Thanos.
I don't think he does.
Oh, no.
I think Hulk.
I don't think.
The whole Earth doesn't like me. The universe doesn't like me, so I'm not going to fight for it.
That's a good theory.
Hulk is just scared of Thanos. I think Hulk is just scared of Thanos in general because, with the fight or flight instinct, he's not going to think beyond I don't think he would think on the levels of Thanos or agree with Thanos, but he's just scared of Thanos from mere fight or flight instinct. He's capable of killing me, so I don't want to fight him.
Yeah, I think Alyssa, I really like your theory. Actually, I part of me hopes it's true. I really do, because I think that would be so interesting if they were to do that with the Hulk's character. Because Hulk is, I've never been a huge Hulk fan because there's only so much you can do with this character.
Yeah.
But gosh, that would be interesting. Although I agree with Monique. I agree with Monique that he's never fought anyone who just so thoroughly trashed him. I mean, Thor and he go, they go at it, and they go at it pretty hard. Yeah. But no one has just taken everything the Hulk had to dish out and then come back like it was nothing. That's never happened. I think Hulk didn't think it was possible. He's afraid. But like I said, Alyssa, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right.
It's either going to make him afraid of him or it's going to make him like him, respect him.
That could also be. And it is worth noting that in a lot of the interviews and everything before the movie came out, they were talking about how when Hulk first meets Thanos, he respects him.
Mm-hmm.
He respects his strength. So that is a possible indicator that you're right. We'll see. I'm really curious to see how that plays out. And like I said, I hope you're right, because I think that's a more interesting story.
We'll see.
Okay. Literally, last thoughts.
I want so it's still the core people core superheroes that were in the first Avengers movie that are alive. But I do want Rocket and Shuri to team up with them, as well as Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see how they interact with Captain Marvel. That's for sure.
That's going to be extremely interesting.
I think Rocket's going to grow a lot from this storyline. I'm sad the other Guardians are all dead, but if anyone was going to grow from this experience the most, it was going to be Rocket.
I think that also is going to be extremely interesting.
I want him, when the Guardians come back in Infinity War, I want Rocket to just hug them and just like cry openly, which I feel would be like after everything, and he just would want, and he'll let Mantis pet him.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I would like him to meet some raccoons.
Actual raccoon? Oh,
that would be awesome.
I want the Guardians to come to.
Yes, that needs to happen. I want
the Guardians to come to Earth. Oh my God, I really want the Guardians to actually, if they like somehow manage to get everyone back, I want them all to end up on Earth, and which means that the Guardians will be on Earth for like the first time all together.
Yeah,
and that'll be Peter Quill's first time back on Earth since he was a kid.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. I want that.
So much
Eric,
drama.
final thoughts from you?
Drama. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think. Thank you both for coming on. We definitely had one heck of a wide-ranging discussion. That's for sure. So
Thank
again,
you.
Before we sign off, where can people find you two at? Where can people find Catholic Reads at?
So they can find Catholic Reads at CatholicReads.com. We also have Catholic Reads podcast, where we talk about Catholic literature and themes and interview Catholic authors. You can find me at arkwatson.com and see my artwork there. And Monique, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Miss Ocampo Writes, MSOCAMPOWRITES. I also have a blog/website, MoniqueOcampoWrites.com, same spelling. And that's about. And I also write for Catholic Reads, so you can find, there's a tag for MS Ocampo there for my book reviews. That's about it.
Okay,
and you can find me at Gingerman Editorial on Twitter. The podcast is Fighting the Void on YouTube and also SoundCloud and iTunes. And also you can find me on Catholic Reads as well from time to time. And one last thing before we sign off, there is a brief announcement I need to make about the future of this particular podcast, and that is going forward, I'll be having a co-host on the show on a regular basis. And for those who are interested, that is Crystal on Twitter. That's at, let's see, I have to.
Oh, so that's the one who keeps liking your tweets.
Yes. Yeah, we decided we had so many ideas between the two of us that she just needed to be a co-host. So, and you can find Crystal at KRYSTLE and 3 capital I's on the Twitters. So henceforth, we will be co-hosting this podcast, and the first episode will be not this coming, but the next weekend, when we are currently planning on talking about potential supernatural spin-offs, what they've thought of, what maybe they haven't thought of, and do they even need one? And on that note,
I'll message you about the stuff they're picking up next time. I'll message you. Right. Bye, guys.
Bye. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in, and keep fighting the good fight.